Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Great to see you. Here we go. It is Tuesday, October 29. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the most powerful city on the planet. Bringing you the news of the day and giving you a chance to get involved in our conversation, our town hall of the morning. You know how to do it. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Whether you're watching us on Free Speech TV or watching the video stream on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And on this Tuesday, when it comes to spying on Angela Merkel, now the White House says, Jay Carney told us this at the White House briefing yesterday, that the president didn't know we were spying on Angela Merkel until this summer when he was informed that we were tapping her cell phone and the cell phones of other world leaders. But here's the question. If he didn't know, who made that decision? It's been going on for 5 years under his presidency. Who's in charge of our intelligence operations? And, by the way, to compound the problem, the White House also says, well, the president did know about any problems with the healthcare website, and he didn't know what the IRS was up to a few months ago. I mean, is the president kept completely in the dark about everything? In other news, a big hearing today in the Senate on background checks for sale of all guns. So the gun safety issue has not entirely disappeared. And Congress is gearing up for Kathleen Sebelius's hearing, her testimony tomorrow, the first time she will testify about problems with the healthcare website. And the Red Sox go ahead 3-2 in the World Series. Right here, all of that on the Bill Press Show this Tuesday morning. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Terry McAuliffe opens up a 12-point lead in the governor's race in Virginia. Ken Cuccinelli's in trouble, and so is the Republican Party, not just in Virginia. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Tuesday, October 29, 2013. It's so good to see you today. Good to have you join us here. It is the Bill Press Show. On a Tuesday morning, we're heading out to you from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where we are perched right here on Capitol Hill in our studio just down the street from the United States Capitol building. If it's happening here in the Congress, this end of Pennsylvania Avenue, we got it covered. If it's happening down at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue at the White House, we got that covered as well. Not just what's happening here in our nation's capital, however, what's going on around the country, around the globe. We're on top of it. We'll bring you the news of the day and, most importantly, give you your chance, maybe your only chance anywhere on radio or TV this Tuesday morning to sound off about it and let us know what it all means to you and to you, your family, to your community, what you think about what's going on. Good to have you with us. Remember, we are your local progressive talk radio station morning show. We are coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station. We are coming to you live here on Free Speech TV as well, which you can find on DirecTV or the Dish Network if you've got a satellite dish. And, of course, a lot of people, just more and more people in 133 countries enjoy watching the video stream. And that video stream is at TawkrTV. So it's youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. You will join if you call or tweet us. Our team here, we're down one member today. Dan Henning, no longer with us. His choice, not ours. Peter Ogburn. So Peter Ogburn's just
hi there,
like doing everything this morning.
Apparently so.
Making coffee, making copies, running the board, doing the full court press.
I'm a regular Schneider. I got everything you need. Okay,
running the vacuum.
That's right.
Yeah. Good morning, Peter.
Hi there.
Nice to see you. Actually, you're not alone. Alicia Cruz is here. She's the one who actually makes the coffee.
That's
and
right.
Is also
so you don't want me to make coffee.
No. Standing by, most importantly, to take your phone calls and to get you on the air with your comments. And if we're looking good this morning, we can all thank Cyprian Bolding for that, because he keeps the video cams oiled up and ready to go, cleans them off every morning, dusts them off, and our esteemed videographer. Well, I got to
Cyprian puts a little extra Vaseline on my camera to make sure it's like a blurry shot.
Yeah, right.
And he oils it up.
So the Sox, man, they had to do it. They had to keep it alive. They did more than keep it alive last night. They're heading back to Fenway Park with a great big win and a 3-2 lead in the World Series. Here's what the final call sounded like on WEEI in Boston.
First pitch swinging a liner to right at Nava, backing up a bit. Daniel makes the catch. The Red Sox win it. 3-1 the final, and the Red Sox are coming home to Boston with a 3-2 lead in the World Series.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, the man of the series is David Ortiz, right?
He's a freak.
He is absolutely
a total freak.
And you know what gets me is he's a pudgy little guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't look like a great big, I don't know, like a Ted Williams sort of like hitter, right? You know, or
right.
Somebody in our age, a great big, tall, muscular hitter, right?
When
that
I
you expect to step up to the plate and knock it out of the park.
Right. When I see him, I don't think, wow, look at that finely honed athlete.
No.
That chiseled athlete. He's chubby.
Yeah.
But he can hit, man.
Man, can he hit? And it's like, Wainwright's a phenomenal pitcher, and everybody was saying, oh, boy, the Wainwright's got Travis Waldron was telling us yesterday, you got to give the Cardinals the edge because they got these two great pitchers coming up. Well, Ortiz, it doesn't matter. And he said last night, so here's his philosophy. And how he explains the fact that
he went 3 for 4 last night.
He went 3 for 4 last night, and he's batting like 775.
Yeah, something stupid like that
in the post series, play. All right, so here's how he explains how he does it.
You see the ball and hit it, and I try not to put pressure on myself and not try to do too much. The whole talk being why they keep on pitching him. It's not like they throw me the ball in the middle of the play, I'm just trying to stay with my game and try to put a good swing whenever, I see a pitch that I can be capable to hit.
I see the ball, I hit it.
I like that.
That's it.
How do you play baseball?
You see the ball and hit it.
Okay, there you go. Isn't that great?
They ought to give that, put that on his tombstone.
What's the key to winning? You see the ball, you hit it.
I see the ball, you hit it. That's it. What's the key to batting practice, everybody? I see the ball,
I hit it.
I hit it. And he said he doesn't wait for the pitch to come right down the middle in the perfect. No.
Well, what's amazing is, I mean, he's hitting 770 something, but when you see him miss, that's when it's real. When you see him swing and a miss, that's exciting because he swings as hard as anybody I've ever seen. I mean, it's amazing. So when he whiffs, he spins around. He's chasing the ball and swinging for the fences.
Well, I got to tell you, tomorrow, big game in Boston, man. They could wrap it up tomorrow. And President Obama is going to be in Boston tomorrow. So everybody, now I've been wondering all morning, do you think he'll stop by Fenway Park? How could he not?
God, that would be a madhouse, wouldn't it?
It would be a madhouse. Maybe throw out the first pitch. Who knows, man? They might have something up their sleeve. All right, we got a few things up our sleeve, too, like Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post. He'll be along at about 20 minutes from now. Igor Volsky from Think Progress. He's here with us every Tuesday as well. At the top of the next hour, Congressman John Yarmouth from Kentucky, who bragged ahead of time that the health exchanges in Kentucky would be the best of the lot, and it turned out to be true. And yes, now the White House says, well, we won't admit we were spying on Angela Merkel, but we will admit that the president didn't know anything about it until last summer. Who the hell's in charge? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple of other stories making news. This seems a bit extreme, even for Texas. The Dallas Safari Club is offering bidders a chance to shoot and kill one of the most endangered species in the world, a black rhino. Try and follow this logic. They say that their goal is to save the population. There are barely 5,000 rhinos in existence, and in one particular pack, there is an aggressive beast that's hurting the other rhinos. So, according to the Dallas Safari Club, you must kill the aggressive one to save the bigger herd.
Where are these rhinos, black rhinos?
Well, they're bringing one to Texas so that they can set it loose on this giant hunting range.
They're gonna round up the aggressive rhino and bring it to Texas?
Yes. And they're giving people the chance to bid at an auction to come and hunt and kill this rhino. They're expected to go for between $250,000 and $1 million is what they think this could be auctioned off for.
This is gross. This is gross. Somebody's got to stop this. This is gross.
If you have that kind of money to burn on something this dumb,
but also, and you get your thrills out of killing an animal that has no defense, right? Yeah,
right.
Just put that animal and that one person in a cage, no gun, just and let them battle it out.
Kick your kids out of the house. Just make sure they're not in front of the idiot box. The American Academy of Pediatrics updated its recommendations for teens and technology on Monday. They suggested that parents should limit their children's screen time to no more than 2 hours a day. And for the first time, the Academy makes sure to specify screen time, not just television. This means smartphones and tablets, things like that. Their research shows that nearly 40% of children under 2 years old have used smartphones and tablets. That's up from just 10% 2 years ago. So a 30% jump in 2 years.
Well, most kids get their first cell phone when they're a year old. I mean, come on.
That's exactly. So they're saying 2 hours in front of the TV per day or in front of the screen per day or smartphone or tablet. That's all they need. No more.
2 hours.
2 hours.
All screen time.
That's it. And meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And when Wall Street watchdogs finally got some good news recently, a Bank of America executive named Rebecca Marone was found guilty of fraud for pushing through questionable loans. Her punishment came when she lost her position with Bank of America. She was let go, and the bank settled for a large sum of money. But don't worry about Rebecca. She just recently began her new job at J.P. Morgan Chase. So after being found liable for fraud with Bank of America, she was snatched up at J.P. Morgan Chase. So there you go, America. Sleep easy.
It's a bunch of crooks on Wall Street, and nothing has happened to any of them. Yes, indeed. Back to the NSA. We start this morning. Back to the NSA spying scandal or spying story, at any rate, and it all revolves about Angela Merkel. That's how I mean, there were, of course, stories about NSA, and we've been talking about that. Tapping our phones, tapping our emails, listening in on all these phone conversations around the world. But what really bubbled it up to a big scandal is when we learned, thanks to, again, the documents released by Edward Snowden, and people are pouring through them, and the German newspaper Der Spiegel poured through them and found out that, in fact, the United States had been tapping Chancellor Angela Merkel's private cell phone since back in 2002. And now, so the White House is under a little hot water on this, and I have to tell you, I don't think they're handling it very smoothly. The president yesterday gave a review. So there are sort of two bits of defense on the part of the White House. The first one is this one. Okay, we know we got some problems with NSA, so we've got a study underway, and we're reviewing everything to try to figure out what changes we ought to make.
We're undergoing a complete review of how our intelligence operates outside of the country. There are some very strict laws governing what we do internally.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that latter part either. This is the president in an interview he gave with a new television network called Fusion, which is Univision and ABC. Right. Jorge Ramos is doing a new show on that program, on that network. And the president said, however, we have to remember that all this spying has only one purpose.
The national security operations generally have one purpose, and that is to make sure that the American people are safe and that I'm making good decisions, and I'm the final user of all the intelligence that they gather.
So the president says, first of all, we got everything now under review. And then the second bit of defense on the part of the White House is, now, first of all, they say, I find this very funny, they say that we are not now spying on Angela Merkel's cell phone. White House says, we will not spy on her cell phone in the future. They will not say whether or not they did in the past, which of course means they did. I mean, they don't deny it, but they won't admit it. At the same time, try to add this up, okay? This is why I say the White House defense has been a little clumsy here, at best. At the same time, they say that the president didn't know we were tapping Angela Merkel's cell phone until this summer. And he heard about it this summer. And once he did, he said we ought to stop it. Now, maybe I'm missing something here, but that to me sounds like they're admitting that we were tapping our cell phone if the president found out about it in this summer, right? I mean, doesn't that sort of add up? But here's the question. I think this raises more questions than answers. Because if the president didn't know about it, this is 5 years into his presidency. What else didn't he know about? And who is making the decision? Is it plausible to you? Is it believable? Is it acceptable that somebody else is making the decision to tap the private cell phone of Angela Merkel or Francois Hollande or Queen Elizabeth or David Cameron or you name it, the leader of any of our friendly allies? That is it acceptable that somebody other than somebody else, let's say, the head of the CIA or the head of the NSA would make that decision and not tell the president of the United States? I think, to me, that defense is worse than saying the president ordered it, because it just sort of shows that, things are out of control. I mean, who is in charge of our intelligence, man? I got to tell you, I believe we need more than a review. I think we need a total shakeup of the NSA. And I was surprised when Jay Carney told us yesterday at the White House the president has full confidence in General Alexander, the head of the NSA. as I tweeted out, based on what? Based on the fact that the president of Brazil canceled her state visit? Based on the fact that France has summoned our ambassador to the Élysée Palace to complain about spying on their leaders? Based on the fact that Angela Merkel personally called the president of the United States and complained about spying on her private cell phone? Is that what gives the president confidence in Keith Alexander? I don't know about you, but I think this defense that the president didn't know is not a very good one. Do you buy it? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it. I got to tell you, my column in The Hill today says we should not be doing this. If we would not tolerate them spying on any one of those countries, Benjamin Netanyahu, if we would not tolerate his spying on President Obama's private cell phone, we should not tolerate the United States spying on anybody, any other world leader's cell phone. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Interesting development in the whole NSA story, which is that Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's been a big supporter of the NSA and, of course, is chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, she has come out and said categorically the NSA is wrong. We should not be spying on friendly world leaders. And she said she will support pulling the plug on that program. Meanwhile, the White House says, well, you can't blame President Obama because he didn't even know what was going on. Well, I want to know, why the hell didn't he know what was going on? And who's running the show around here when it comes to our whole intelligence operations? I've said it before. I'll say it again. And Eugene Robinson makes that point in his column in the Washington Post this morning. The NSA is out of control, tapping our phones, and out of control tapping our emails, and out of control in what they're doing around the world. John is in Ferndale, Washington State. Hello, John.
Bill, long-time caller.
Yes.
You know, read all your books, listen to your show religiously. But is this 12 years too late? I mean, we knew back in February of 2001 that Verizon was giving over all this information over to the Bush administration before 9/11. I mean, France spies on us, we spy on them, Israel spies on us. I mean, welcome to the world.
Yeah,
John, the president has plausible deniability on it. He doesn't know every single person. You know, there is no privacy.
John, when it comes to world leaders, you got to make a distinction. There's a First of all, the fact that it happened a long time ago, you're right? It doesn't make it right today. I didn't expect President Obama to continue all the policies of George W. Bush when it comes to spying operations. Not at all. And I think even if we do spy, everybody spies on everybody, you can make a distinction between ordinary individuals and the world leader that we depend on for cooperation in the war on terror. No, wrong policy.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You got it on a Tuesday morning, 33 minutes after the hour now, rolling along on the Bill Press Show. From our nation's capital to you, wherever you happen to be, on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on TawkrTV, 133 countries. I love that, the fact that we're big in Belarus, and wherever you happen to be, we welcome you back to the program. And look who's walking in here on a Tuesday morning as he joins us early every Tuesday morning. Arthur Delaney, covering basically economic issues and all kinds of good stuff for the Huffington Post. Arthur, good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Thank you for coming in. You were going to bring your dog this morning, I thought. No?
One of these days I'm going to bring him in here and chew everything.
Chew everything up, yeah. Now, we've been talking, I want to get to the topics you've been writing about, but I want you to indulge us for a second, because we've been talking about the fact that the White House now says the problem with tapping Angela Merkel's phone, even though they don't admit that they did, is that the president did not know about it until this summer. The point I've been making is the president should have known about it, because if he didn't, that means that somebody else is making decisions, pretty important decisions on intelligence matters, like tapping the phone of a friendly world leader. And it seems to me that should be a presidential level. At any rate, Victor, before we move on, Victor from here we go.
Okeechobee.
Okeechobee, Florida, watching on Free Speech TV. Hello, Victor. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good. What's your thought about all this?
Yeah, I mean, for the last 30 years, they've been saying that the government's been spying on us, and back then, if somebody said that, they was just saying that they was crazy. And
well, guess what?
Now we find out that it's all true, and no word about the crazy man on the street that was telling us 30 years ago that they were spying on us.
They probably weren't.
They
probably were not doing it 30 years ago, but they're certainly doing it now.
It's a post 9/11 spying regime that we're talking about with the dragnet of telephone records.
Right, telephone records, email records, and now it's not only in this country, it's overseas as well, and it's not only spying on our alleged enemies, right, but spying on our friends.
Victor is right.
What was that great movie, Enemy Against the State?
The people who were wearing tinfoil hats all along, they were right. They're listening to you.
That's
our base. Yeah, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
And I'll tell you what, Victor, we ought to be more. I believe. I know a lot of Americans think that. So what? This is just what government does. I don't buy that, man. I do not buy that. I think we ought to be a lot more upset about it. In fact, Peter, we played this morning Hey, Victor, thanks so much for the call. There's this guy is with the Center for Strategic Studies. James Andrew Lewis, and he says what I've heard from a lot of our listeners.
Everybody does this. All great powers engage in espionage. All great powers use espionage as a tool to advance their national interests. The Germans are a little more constrained than most, but they still engage in espionage.
So everybody spies on everybody, so what's a big deal? I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal if the government's listening in on my phone calls.
That's like a kind of like a teenager, what he says to his parents when they catch him smoking weed. Everyone does it.
Yeah, right.
It sounds strange as an excuse.
I buy it more from the teenager than I do from the government, right?
I was most surprised by Senator Feinstein, outraged that we have been spying on our allies, because when all these revelations have come out about the intricacies of our spying domestically, the excuse has always been, no, we're only spying on foreigners, and any domestic spying is just incidental to that. And then the news is we spied on foreigners, and she's outraged.
Yeah, right.
I'm getting whiplash from that.
But when Senator Feinstein, who has been the staunch defender of NSA and the whole intelligence agencies, when she comes out and says this has crossed the line, it
must be bad.
It must be bad, right? They're in trouble. Now, we've talked before about, let's get into some of the issues you've been dealing with, about food stamps. This gets kind of, lost in the shuffle here. Not many people are talking about it, but you are, Arthur. I give you credit for that.
I've got big food stamps news for you.
Oh, let's hear it. Lay it on us.
And all 47 million people receiving food stamps in this country, starting Friday, the month of November, an across-the-board cut, a reduction of benefits totaling $5 billion will take effect. And it is...
Wait, this is not a hearing about this. This is going to happen?
This is happening accidentally.
How so?
There had been a boost to benefits in the stimulus bill in 2009.
Yeah, right. Okay.
They were never going to let this phase out. They were just going to let inflation and food prices catch up to the 13% increase, because your amount of food stamps is adjusted upward every year if there is inflation. So they figured in 2015 that's when the price, the value of food stamps would just automatically catch up. But Democrats had priority spending bills in 2010, including Michelle Obama's Healthy Hungry Kids initiative. I botched the title, but one of those. And they took the money to pay for that legislation and said, we'll put it back before this cut takes effect. And they didn't. So it was a broken promise by Democrats. And now everyone will see a modest reduction in their food stamp benefits next month.
And where are we with the food stamps in terms of the funding for the entire program?
Well, this
is happening independently of any new
It is happening totally separate from everything you heard over the summer about a farm bill and food stamp cuts that Republicans want. It is just different from that. It's happening automatically to everybody.
To everybody on food stamps, 47 million Americans.
Yeah, it's going down by about $10 a person per month.
Going along right with the principle, the Christian principle of kick them while they're down.
Only you don't even have to kick them.
Right.
The program will kick them automatically, and none of the state agencies or federal government explain what happened when they send out a letter. It's just like, oops.
Yeah. Right.
This thing's expiring.
All right. Back to the farm bill.
So the farm bill now, the conferees are meeting this week. The Farm Bill Conference Committee, where they take bipartisan group from the House and the Senate, and they all meet together, try to hammer out the differences between their farm bills. And it's the House Republicans have this relatively harsh cut that would kick about 4 million people off food stamps. It's unlikely the conference committee will let them have all the cuts that they want. But it's an open question whether the conference committee can even get its work done
that's what I was
the amount of time they have left.
No, that's what I was going to ask you. Could they do? It's possible they won't do anything at all. So nothing will happen, and then what's the impact of that?
They'll probably just continue current policy for a year, kick the can. And if that's what happens, nothing happens to food stamps other than what is kicking in on Friday.
But will the program continue?
Yeah, there's no food stamp cliff. It just continues because it's annually appropriated apart from the reauthorization. So if you don't want to see a policy change, you could just root for can kicking at this juncture. And you might get it.
Who are the champions of people on food stamps? Isn't that part of the problem? I mean, they don't really have paid lobbyists in Washington, right?
Well, there are the lobbyists for groups like the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities who do advocate for low-income users of the safety net. But you're right. There isn't the high-powered, fancy suit lawyer lobbying on their behalf. So there's a bit of an imbalance. But the lobbyists for agribusiness, they want food stamps passed because that's how they get agribusiness subsidies. So that's a key thing. The Farm Bill has food stamps and farm subsidies in it together. And the farm lobbyists are allies of the food stamp program for that reason.
Yeah, but didn't the Republicans, in fact, split the two? And that's
what the House Republicans want. That's
right.
What they're sending to the conference committee. I don't think there's much chance the conference committee is going to send that to the House and Senate. And then you'll have a conference report that is the kind of thing John Boehner would have no chance of getting a majority of Republican support. He'd have to put it on the floor and hope Democrats would vote for it. And he's so loath to do that it seems like you can expect current policy to just stay the same for the second year in a row.
All right, so all those on food stamps know that all of you watching, listening, or you know somebody, you are yourself, you know somebody who is, just to make sure that you are all aware of the fact that, as Arthur reports, this Friday, you're going to get a little bit less money each month, right?
That's right.
And how do you like those apples? So when we come back, though, Arthur, the other thing you've been reporting about, which I was very interested in, is with all this news about the glitch with the launch of the website for healthcare exchanges. It ain't the first time we've seen a glitch in a website launch, correct?
I'll tell you about the biggest glitch you've ever heard of.
With that tease, we'll be right back with Arthur Delaney. Your call's welcome at 866-55-PRESS. You can complain, too, or you can mention his glasses.
They look good.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
From Think Progress joins us at the top of the next hour. It's our Tuesday tag team here. Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, followed by Igor Volsky. You guys ought to, commute together, carpool or something.
I live in the neighborhood. I roll out of bed.
Well, see, Igor normally comes in and he's wearing glasses, and now this week Arthur comes in and he's not normally wearing glasses. He's got glasses on today.
Yeah, I find it all very confusing.
Now, if Igor comes in without glasses today, forget it.
I also find it confusing this, Arthur, all the flap about the website. Now, look, this healthcare exchange website, you would think, knowing how important it is, they would have tested it. They would have gotten the people from Amazon or ProFlowers in or somebody to say.
Pets.com.
Right, exactly. How do we do this? But you have written that this is hardly the first time there's been some glitches, right?
Yeah, every major safety net program the federal government has rolled out, it has rolled out with glitches. And it started with Social Security in the 1930s. The Great Depression had happened.
But the internet didn't exist then.
That's right. So the glitches were different. I'm going to tell you about.
All right.
So Congress passed the Social Security Act, and they had to create a social insurance program for 30 million people, and they had no database, no way of finding these people, no record, no Social Security cards existed prior to that. And everyone back then was named Smith or Miller. So they had to figure out a system to deal with all these duplicate names in different places, to track their wage histories over time, their shifting geographies. So they brought in, the Social Security Board hired this management consultant, basically a 1930s Mitt Romney type person.
Yeah.
And he studied the problem for months. And in 1936, he came to the board and said, this isn't going to work. You have to go back to Congress and tell them that the government cannot administer the Social Security program.
Really?
So it was as if they started getting healthcare.gov working and just said, never mind about the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
Can't do affordable health insurance for people. And they said, no, man, get back to work. And came up with the system using basically filing cabinets. And the numbers that remain in place today, the numbers on your Social Security correspond to where you were born or where your card was issued. And the program then worked. But that was back before you had all these contractors, overlapping bureaucracies with different information about people who are enrolled, and before the internet.
But it's also happened with private contractors as well, with businesses, right? With commercial operations. We talked yesterday a little bit about Twitter, when Twitter started with the fail whale, right?
Yeah.
There were so many, and the fail whale came up all the time because they didn't have the system working.
So, yeah, healthcare.
And today, you seldom see it, right?
You do occasionally see it. So today, healthcare.gov has the fail whale.
Yeah, right.
Social Security had the fail whale big time, but there wasn't. It wasn't happening in real time. People didn't really know about those problems. But you had employers saying, "Why the hell do I have to cooperate with this database and give you all these wage records?" So there were a lot of parallels. The first time they rolled out a program in the age of computers was in the early 70s with the Supplemental Security Income Program, which absorbed state welfare programs. And that was a disaster. And people who have written books about that say, well, that was the beginning of the computer era.
So what's the moral of the story here about the health exchanges?
It's like Jurassic Park. The computers, you just can't trust them. But I think the bigger
I would
moral.
hope there's a better.
That's not a very good takeaway.
I hope there's a better message here, please.
Well, I think if the bigger message is if you take the long view, the massive glitches that are happening do not necessarily imperil the ultimate goal of any of these programs. They've worked out in the past. There've always been glitches. So probably this is not the end of the Affordable Care Act.
So they're going to fix it, and then someday we'll forget all about it.
It's been a month.
Yeah, right.
And these past glitches unfolded over periods of years. So much as some people hope this is the death spiral of Obamacare, it may not be.
No, but so there is hope that Obamacare will survive. With that hopeful message, Arthur, we thank you for coming in again this morning. We'll see you again next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Have a good one. We'll come back, and Igor Volsky joins us at the top of the next hour from Think Progress.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You!
Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour here on the Bill Press Show, Igor Volsky will be here from Think Progress. And also, we'll be talking with Congressman John Yarmouth from Kentucky about their big, huge success with their healthcare exchange. Peter, on comments.
Yes, indeed. You can follow us on Twitter at BP Show. It's a great way to follow along and find out what we're talking about. Let's start with a conservative commenter, Robert Strong, who weighs in. He says, Obama didn't know about Benghazi, the IRS, Solyndra, or the Obamacare website. Why would you expect him to know about the NSA?
Because he's president.
Yeah, that's one good point. And Summerlin says, I think we've reached the point where we are not shocked anymore by the spying. It's not even news. But we should be outraged.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that comment. We should be outraged, and we should demand that there be some parameters and some, restraint on the NSA.
Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Great to see you. Here we go. It is Tuesday, October 29. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the most powerful city on the planet. Bringing you the news of the day and giving you a chance to get involved in our conversation, our town hall of the morning. You know how to do it. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Whether you're watching us on Free Speech TV or watching the video stream on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And on this Tuesday, when it comes to spying on Angela Merkel, now the White House says, Jay Carney told us this at the White House briefing yesterday, that the president didn't know we were spying on Angela Merkel until this summer when he was informed that we were tapping her cell phone and the cell phones of other world leaders. But here's the question. If he didn't know, who made that decision? It's been going on for 5 years under his presidency. Who's in charge of our intelligence operations. And, by the way, to compound the problem, the White House also says, well, the president did know about any problems with the healthcare website, and he didn't know what the IRS was up to a few months ago. I mean, is the president kept completely in the dark about everything? In other news, a big hearing today in the Senate on background checks for sale of all guns. So the gun safety issue has not entirely disappeared. And Congress is gearing up for Kathleen Sebelius' hearing, her testimony tomorrow, the first time she will testify about problems with the healthcare website. And the Red Sox go ahead 3-2 in the World Series. Right here, all of that on the Bill Press Show this Tuesday morning. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
The Macker, that's what we call him. Terry McAuliffe, Democratic candidate for governor in Virginia, a 12-point lead over Republican Ken Cuccinelli. Cuccinelli in trouble, and so is the National Republican Party. Good morning, everybody. Tuesday, October 29. It is the Bill Press Show, booming out to you live all across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station. From our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us this fine Tuesday morning. A little chilly here in Washington, D.C., but not bad. After all, it's almost November, so it should be a little chilly this Tuesday morning. We look forward to hearing from you on the phone at 866-55-PRESS and for getting your acid comments on Twitter at BP Show, and insightful comments, I should add, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Remember, you can also catch us, if you prefer, on Free Speech TV. As long as you got a satellite, you catch us on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And for those of you all around the world who the only option is streaming the show online, you can do that too at TawkrTV, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. It's Tuesday. It must be Igor Volsky in studio, and it is from Think Progress managing editor. Igor, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in. We have a nice matching, not matching exactly.
Well, Bill, we'll have to coordinate better next time because I don't have a pattern like you.
It's the sweater look,
yeah.
though. But it's the season for that,
yeah,
right?
It's the season, yeah.
Last week, Arthur came in wearing a tweed jacket, and then Igor came in right after him wearing a tweed jacket.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's going on, Igor, but
I'm a little off. It's Obamacare. It's got me all riled up.
Yeah.
You can understand.
Totally.
It's the Tuesday tag team of Arthur Delaney and Igor Volsky. Peter Ogburn leading up our team press here this morning, together with Alicia Cruz on the phones and Cyprian Bolding, as always, on the video cam. And Igor, we always save the big sports stories of the day for you because we know you're such a sports, such a jock, such a sports fan. You and Travis Waldron over there at Think Progress Sports. We talked earlier about the World Series and the Red Sox winning Game 3 last night and taking it back to Boston. They just need one more game to wrap up the World Series. Go Sox. Last night, Monday Night Football as well. Seattle Seahawks over the St. Louis Rams. The Seahawks have not lost a game, right?
They've lost one game.
They lost one game.
Okay,
but they're doing.
And they came darn close last night.
Phenomenal season. They came close to losing again last night. It was fourth quarter.
Seconds left, fourth and goal, and the Rams, all they had to do was put it in the end zone, and they would have won the game. And they couldn't.
Here's what that final call was like.
Long count by Clemens. Takes the ball. Here comes the blitz. Over the top to throw. The ball is incomplete. The Seahawks are going to win this game. No flag is down. No flag is down. The game is over. The Seahawks defense has given up a 96-yard drive, and the Rams come up empty. The Seahawks go to 7-1 on the season. Easy, my heart. I don't know that I can take another one like that.
I think the announcer just had a stroke.
There's nothing like sports writer or sports announcers, man. When they
we should point out that was the Seattle station, by the way. I don't know if you could tell by the way that the guy was announcing the game. That was the pro Seattle station.
I had a feeling he was sort of on the
Be still my heart.
Be still my heart, exactly. All right. So Igor here for the first half hour, and then Congressman John Yarmouth from Kentucky will be joining us to talk about the huge success.
Travis is congressman from Kentucky.
Is that right?
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Travis is a big fan.
Huge success of their health exchange program. In the next hour, John Stanton from Buzzfeed and Juana Summers from Politico. But first,
this
Peter
is
to
the
do the
full court press.
Indeed. A couple of other stories making news. This Philadelphia burger maker is trying to kill you. PYT is the name of a very popular burger restaurant in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They're known for creating behemoth burgers that often use wacky ingredients. And Monday, they unveiled their latest monstrosity. It's called PYT. PYT. Yesterday, they unveiled their Twinkie burger.
Oh.
It's even worse than it sounds, believe it or not. It is a, quote, custom blend pork belly patty covered in American cheese and bacon, all sandwiched between 2 deep-fried Twinkies that serve as buns. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, you had me with the pork belly and all that, but you.
I mean, it's basically bacon on bacon, and then you use candy as a bun.
Yeah, that's not kosher.
It's definitely not kosher. Let Vermont lead the way. Vermont's Governor Peter Shumlin yesterday laid out a bold vision for Vermont's health care plan, and certainly it is an ambitious one. The state has planned a 2017 launch of the nation's first universal health care system, what they're calling a modified Medicare for all that many progressives long to see from President Obama. Liberal states around the country will be watching Vermont closely to see how this experiment works and whether or not it will work beyond the tiny state of Vermont.
This is single payer. This is great. Congressman Peter Welch told us about this in studio last week. I think I think other states will pick this up as well.
Yeah, best of luck to them.
I'm excited about it.
And gentlemen, it was 1 year ago today that Superstorm Sandy came ashore, devastated parts of New York City and the New Jersey coastline.
Wow.
By all accounts, a lot of progress has been made. There's still a lot to be done. Yesterday, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York said that there are some people who still can't go home to what used to be their houses. And this evening, citizens all along the Jersey Shore will be participating in something called a Light the Shore remembrance. Candles will be lit, flashlights will be turned on, all up and down the beach along the Jersey Shore, starting at about 7 o'clock this evening. So that's how they are commemorating the 1 year anniversary of Superstorm Sandy on the Jersey Shore.
Boy, from everything I've seen and read, people I've talked to, they've made a lot of progress, but they still have a long way to go. And there are some people who will never get back. I mean, some of those communities will never be back to what they were, and some of the businesses will just never be able to get back. A year ago today.
Hard to believe.
It sure is. Now, Igor, I got to ask you. So the big story, and this started at the White House yesterday at the briefing, people are now saying with the health exchanges that President Obama wasn't telling the truth, because when he was selling the Affordable Care Act, he said, "Don't worry, if you have insurance now, you will not. There'll be no change at all. You will be able to keep your plan. Everybody has insurance now, will be able to keep their plan." And now the story is that that's not necessarily the case. Therefore, the president wasn't telling the truth. What is the truth?
This story, to me, is really infuriating. And
Think Progress did report on this
last night. Yeah, last night I came back from the gym where I was wearing, by the way, my Bill Press shirt to the gym, advertising.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
all over
Good, we
DC
like that.
advertising. Yes. And I open my phone and I see this so-called NBC investigative story of secret documents they obtained from the administration, showing that the administration knew back in 2010 that some 40 to 67% of all existing plans would change and people would not be able to keep the coverage they had. Now, this would sound very ominous and conspiratorial, unless you realize that there's a lot of turnover in the individual market. There's turnover every year. And so it'd be hard to imagine that you would still be in the same plan in 2014 that you had in 2010. It's also hard to believe that this is some kind of investigation when you remember that back in 2010, when the administration issued these regulations that said, if your policy originated before the law was enacted, before March 23rd, 2010, that policy remains in place. It doesn't have to meet any of the new standards of the legislation. You can keep it unless the insurer makes big changes, unless they increase your copay substantially, unless they put an annual cap on something, unless they decide not to cover a whole host of services. In other words, if they change the plan dramatically and kind of shift the cost and the risk of that coverage onto you, the insurer, then they lose their grandfather status, it's called, and they have to meet all the new requirements of the law. So NBC is claiming that the administration knew when it issued this rule, it knew that most insurers would not meet that standard and they would not be grandfathered in. Now, this was a major issue when the rule was issued in November of 2010. It was such a big issue, in fact, that Mike Enzi, the senator from Wyoming, conservative, introduced legislation to try to repeal those rules, to try to loosen them significantly, to allow insurers to change plans in all kinds of ways and still be grandfathered and still be exempt from most of the regulations in the Affordable Care Act. Now, NBC somehow missed these reports that were out in full force. It was a big deal. I remember covering it. It was a big deal in 2010 and presented this story as some kind of big exclusive, and you have it on all the cables this morning.
Yeah.
When really it's not. And the whole point of these grandfather policies is to say, if the plan, again, does not shift the cost onto you and does not change dramatically, you can keep it. But if the plan changes dramatically, if it's not the same plan you had, it's not the same plan, and it has to meet all the requirements of the law, because the whole point of reform is to put a baseline of standards, a baseline of coverage that all insurers eventually have to meet in 2014. And we're quickly moving to that point now.
All right. Now, two quick questions. One, isn't it true that 80% of people today who are insured get their insurance through their workplace?
Yes.
So they are totally not part of this conversation.
They are, for the most part, they're not part of this conversation at all.
So this only applies to people who are buying their own insurance
for the most part,
of their
yes.
workplace.
For the most part, it's these
Right.
individual market plans, and they're the ones receiving the cancellation notices.
Right. And it's the insurance company which is telling them you're no longer covered
Yes.
because we have these standards we have to meet.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. So that means if that person does change the plan, and some people will be forced to change the plan, they end up with better coverage.
They go into the exchange, they end up with more comprehensive coverage, and most of them will qualify for subsidies.
But I was going to say, what about the cost? That seems to be the issue, that yes, they get a better plan, but it's going to rock 'em, sock 'em,
Yes.
like people are saying, 60%, 70%. I saw that NBC story last night. They quoted one case where there was a 65% increase.
That's important. So for the most people, they are going to be eligible for the tax credits, and their cost is either going to be around the same or it's going to go down.
So the 65% is before they're subsidized.
Probably
Right.
in those
Yeah.
stories, I don't know if
Yeah.
But look, there are going to be some people, and you saw the LA Times story from yesterday of a woman who was a small business owner. She was in her 30s, whose plan is now canceled. She had an individual plan paying $98 a month, and now because that plan doesn't meet all the minimum benefit requirements of the law, she has to get a new policy, but she doesn't qualify for subsidies, and so she's now going to be paying at least some $260 a month. Now, the question is, what about those people? And here's what I say to people like that who are going to have to pay more. The only reason they paid $98 a month to begin with is because they were part of a system that kept their sick neighbors out. They were paying $98 a month because the neighbor down the street who had a pre-existing condition couldn't get coverage at all or was completely priced out of coverage. So they, the $98 a month people, were a beneficiary of a system that purposely excluded people from insurance. That's the only way, because she was a healthy woman and part of a pool of really healthy people, that she could be charged that small a premium. That's point number one. So yes, she's going to be paying more, but she's going to be paying more for a system bill that includes everybody. And one day, if she becomes ill and she can no longer qualify for that $98 a month under the old system, she's ultimately going to be covered. And that particular woman also was 3 months pregnant. She's going to eventually need maternity care, other benefits. And so I would argue that because the new plans are more comprehensive, more inclusive, that it's possible that her overall healthcare spending is going to be less because the new plans cover more, even if the premium is going to be higher.
So the story that you're going to see today, take it with a grain of salt. The fact that President Obama wasn't telling the truth when he said everybody was going to keep their plan. It is more complicated than that, and some people may have to change plans, but going to end up with a better plan and not necessarily be paying more. Igor, there's so many other things I want to get into. Texas, we had a big decision yesterday on the abortion issue, the one that Wendy Davis filibustered against. And Marco Rubio has had a change of heart when it comes to immigration. Other issues there that Think Progress is on top of. It's thinkprogress.org. We can't cover it all in the half hour we have with Igor on a Tuesday, so you ought to check it out multiple times a day. We'll be right back. Don't forget, you're welcome to join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
9-1.
Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, one state is leading the way with the health exchanges, and that is the state of Kentucky, believe it or not. John Yarmouth, congressman from Kentucky, will tell us all about it in the next segment. Right now we're visiting with Igor Volsky, talking healthcare and other issues that Think Progress is on top of, thinkprogress.org. Igor, let's take a quick call here from Jeannie, calling from, is it Gary? Gary, New York. Hello, Jeannie.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
I'm good. What's your question?
I just have one small comment.
Oh, comment. Yeah.
The fact that Affordable Health Care Act, the website's having trouble is really nothing when you think about it, because of Apple and all the other companies that have had trouble with their startups and their websites. But my comment is the Affordable Care Act, as unperfect as it is right now, is the most progressive thing we've had in this country in my lifetime. And this might give us the health care of a third world country. Now, that's really a sad comment, but it's true. And I know it can be improved. And like you're talking Kentucky, if we're all going to a single payer, I'm a veteran, so I know what single payer is, and I have good health care.
Yeah.
And I want the whole country to see this. And I love hearing Igor on Tuesdays.
Oh, all right. Well,
thank you.
He's
another Igorian there, satisfied customer.
Igorians unite.
Jeannie joins the Igor Volsky fan club. The points you made about healthcare is correct, but I do have to ask you, Texas, can you tell us quickly what happened in Texas?
Yes, so the Wendy Davis bill, she was filibustering HB2, this omnibus abortion bill. A judge yesterday said that a small provision of that bill that requires doctors to have access privileges to hospitals if they're to perform abortions is unconstitutional. It makes no sense, she said. So now it's going to get appealed, unfortunately, to a very conservative court. So it's unclear that it's going to stand, but certainly a step in the right direction.
So Wendy Davis was onto something, right?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, and a modest victory here for the forces of who support a woman's freedom of choice. Igor Volsky, always good to see you.
Always
Thanks so much
pleasure.
for coming in. Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Thinkprogress.org. Don't forget, we'll be back with John Yarmouth.
Is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, on a Tuesday morning, October 29, 33 minutes after the hour. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital and brought to you today by AFSCME. The good men and women of AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. Under President Lee Saunders, for more information about how they are making America happen, go to their website at afscme.org, afscme.org. Problems continue with the Federal Health Exchange website, but meanwhile, states keep chugging along. No state doing better than the state of Kentucky. And Congressman John Yarmouth in studio with us a couple of weeks ago said, watch Kentucky, watch Kentucky. We're going to show the world. Indeed, they have. And the good congressman joins us on our news line this morning. Hey, Congressman, always good to have you with us.
Good morning, Bill. Good to be with you.
All right. Saw you on MSNBC last night. You're all over the place here. So how's it going in Kentucky? What do the numbers show so far? And what's the secret of your success?
Well, first of all, things are going extremely well. We've had more than 300,000 visitors to the websites. 260,000 have actually initiated, set up accounts to enroll. About 26,000 as of the end of last week had actually already been approved for coverage, and that's increasing at about 1,000 a day. We have about, I think, 67,000 as of Friday had actually completed applications. So we're having a great response, and the program, the website in Kentucky, which is KYNECT Connect, is working flawlessly. But I think one of the most significant measures of success in Kentucky is we have more than 400 businesses that have already signed up for insurance for their employees.
Whoa!
And that's one of the main complaints the critics have used is, this is going to be horrible for small business.
Right.
And our businesses are finding out that this is great for them, that they're able to insure their employees now, they're getting better coverage, and it's not costing them any money. In many cases, they're saving money. So experience in Kentucky so far has been great. Now, how does it happen? I mean, we started early. The administration decided early on, first of all, to do our own exchange. We took advantage of the federal money that was available to help set up the exchange, and of course, they brought in good people.
Did you? And you obviously hired the right firm, right, to to figure out the system and to come up with the system.
Well, actually, kind of coincidentally and ironically, one of the main subcontractors in Kentucky is CGI, which is the company that's been on the hot seat on the federal exchange. So they've done a great job in Kentucky. The biggest problem with the federal system, and this is something that I don't think has gotten enough play, is nobody ever expected there to be 36 states that decided to go the federal route. Mm-hmm. And so the federal system now has to interact with 36 different sets of insurance regulations, 36 different sets of providers, 36 different sets of insurance companies. And if more states had done what Kentucky and California and New York and some others have done, this probably never would have happened. It would have been much easier for the federal exchange to coordinate all these programs. But again, that states had up until January 1st of this year to make that decision. So those people who say, well, you had 3.5 years to get ready for this, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. They didn't have 3.5 years. They basically had from the first of this year.
Basically about 6 or 7 months, I guess,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Once
exactly.
the governors had made. So, what is your take on this, Congressman? Are you confident they're going to fix the problems as they say they are by the 1st of December, and everything will be up and running?
Well, I think we have to hold them to that, and I think if they don't do it, and I'm no expert, you get conflicting analysis of whether it's possible to do it by then or not. But if they don't, then I think we do have to seriously consider extending some deadlines. But I'm willing to give them the other month, and things are working much better now. I think that's the one thing that people lose sight of. People are signing up through the federal exchanges, and they are getting access to it now. They're not working perfectly, for sure, but they're working better. It remains to be seen whether they can get it done in the next month.
I don't know whether you've had a chance, Congressman, to catch up with the story that started yesterday, and it's been all over the cables this morning, that some people will have to, unlike what the president said when he was promoting the Affordable Care Act, that some people will actually lose their plans, existing plans, and have to pay more. Have you familiar with that story? And
oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the truth here? Was the president?
Well, the president was wrong to say what he did at the time, and those of us who were involved in drafting the legislation, and I was on the Ways and Means Committee at the time and working on it, we knew that should have been a conditional statement. I mean, the vast majority of people would not be forced off their policies by the ACA. We knew that. But what we didn't know, and what the president didn't know at the time, I mean, he could have surmised, but he didn't know for sure, is the law actually required HHS, Department of Health and Human Services, to establish certain levels of minimum coverage.
Yes.
Now, there was no way to know what those levels would be when the president was making that comment.
Yeah. And it does make sense. There should be, right? There should be some minimal levels of coverage, right? I mean,
exactly. I mean, literally millions of Americans have suffered because they were sold coverage they thought was good insurance, and it wasn't.
Yep. Yep.
And, with tons and tons of pages and small print and conditional statements, and all of a sudden they've got something, and they get the insurance either they get the treatment denied, they have to pay incredible sums out of pocket, they have enormous deductibles. So yes, we wanted to make sure that there is a certain amount of security in any insurance policy that is purchased.
So they're losing a policy that wasn't worth a damn to begin with.
Exactly.
Really. So, but the president should not have said nobody's going to lose a plan. But here's the question then, is when they move to a different policy, right, are they going to have to pay substantially more?
Well, in Kentucky, you can buy insurance with the subsidies at there's one policy, it's $51 a month. Now, my son's young and healthy, and he was paying about $150 a month.
I was going to say, I don't know anybody who's paying. I don't think any private insurance company you could get insurance for $50 a month.
Right. So I'm not going to make a blanket statement. Yes, there will be people who will end up paying more. They will be getting more for it. I think that's the one thing. Nobody will be paying more for less coverage.
Right.
Like that's the one statement we can make.
Yeah. And there are then the subsidies kick in too. A lot of these people who do have to change plans, right, will qualify for one of the federal tax credits.
Absolutely, and I think some of them probably, depending on what state they're in, will probably could qualify for Medicaid expanded coverage if they're making 133% of the poverty level or less, so they're making $15,000 to $18,000. They can probably qualify for Medicaid. So yes, which would be no premium to them.
Right. Well, so do you believe that that we're going to come out of this mess and the Affordable Care Act will survive and prove to be successful?
Yes, I think so. I'm one of those who believes that ultimately, probably within 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a hue and cry for a single-payer plan because this is still going to be complicated. And
I agree.
And I think the campaign or the hue and cry will be led by the business community. We'll say, please take this off our backs. We can't do this. Yep. We're the only country in the world that's trying to provide insurance through employers, and it's not working. But meanwhile, this is going to benefit millions and millions of American families.
Yeah, it's funny. Lee Iacocca said that. Remember years ago?
Yes, right.
Yeah,
right.
He was a single payer guy. Get it off the backs of the business community. And we were talking just in the last half hour that Vermont will be the first state to using, by the way, some of the language in the Affordable Care Act, which permits states to experiment with basically a single-payer or Medicare for all program. Vermont's going to be the first one coming up later this year, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, that'll be a good laboratory.
And we'll see how many states will follow. One quick question before we let you go, Congressman. We're going to see any. I know you've been very involved in this. We've talked about it. Are we going to see any immigration reform legislation this year?
I still think that there's a chance we'll see some movement in the House. We're not going to see any final product developed. I don't think we're going to see something that goes through the House, then goes to conference and comes back. We just don't have enough time to do that, which is another kind of almost near criminal factor that we have 14 actual full days of legislative business between now and the end of the year. 19 days total, but 5 of those days are just we come back and vote at night.
Yeah.
So the odds of getting a new immigration law, I think, those odds are astronomical. But I think we'll see some action and some movement, and then next year, hopefully, we can conclude it.
Yeah, and I guess the truth is there is time if you had leadership that really wanted to get it done, right? And
exactly.
But we haven't seen that, and it ain't going to happen between now and the end of the year. Congressman John Yarmouth, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here in Washington pretty soon when you get back in town. Thanks so much, Congressman.
Okay, Bill.
Always good to have you with us. Thank you, Congressman John Yarmouth, Democrat from Kentucky.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer?
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, John Stanton, who's the bureau chief for Buzzfeed here in Washington, D.C., will be here as a friend of Bill for the next hour. And we'll be joined by Juana Summers, who covers Congress, particularly defense-related issues for Politico. Right now, Peter, you got a couple of comments
just wanted to get
before we move along. Yeah,
it's always good to remind people you should follow us on Twitter at BP Show.
Yes.
At BP Show. Just a couple comments on Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Sheila Lucas says, "O-Care works. Period.
Yes.
The federal website has issues. We should be clear in our communications." Thank you, Sheila.
No, it's a very good point. The president keeps making that point too. Obamacare is a lot more than the website. The website has some problems. They will fix it. The whole system, the whole plan, the whole project is a damn good one.
On that note, Danny Zimmerman says ACA will work for everyone eventually, but it would have been more efficient to have moved the country to Medicare for all.
Yes.
There you go.
That's, as we were just talking about with John Yarmouth. And by the way, I want to emphasize this. I've made that point before. The Affordable Care Act, it could be a hell of a lot better. But it's a good program. It's going to help millions and millions of Americans. It will survive. It will prove to be one of the three great federal programs available for middle-class Americans, Social Security and Medicare and Obamacare. And the only difference is that when we know it's successful, Republicans will stop calling it Obamacare, because they will not want to give Obama credit for anything. So I don't know what they'll call it, but maybe they'll go back to calling it the Affordable Care Act or something, or just plain health care. But they won't call it Obamacare once everybody admits that it's such a success. You know, we mentioned Vermont going into attempting this year its own single-payer plan. We mentioned Kentucky having such huge success with its healthcare exchange, signing up 1,000 people a day, which just makes the point, little transition here. You know, it's often said that states are the laboratories of democracy. That's where things get done because they're so more manageable, and you don't have to deal with all 50 states at one time. Well, that has proven true in several areas. We have seen that in these health exchanges, like with California, with New York, with Kentucky, with Maryland and other states, able to get the job done when the feds couldn't. We've seen that with the legalization of marijuana, Colorado and Washington State moving in the right direction. even though the federal government couldn't get it done. We have seen that with same-sex marriages. What is it, 13, 14 states now, and the District of Columbia recognize marriage equality. The federal government still hasn't kind of gotten there. Well, we saw it yesterday with climate change. Despite the president's commitment to this issue, there has been zero legislation in the last in the first 4 years, or in these 2 years, this year rather, under President Obama, because of this Congress unwilling to tackle the issue. But yesterday, 3 Western governors, Governor Jerry Brown in California, Jay Inslee in Washington State, and John Kitzhaber in Oregon, got together with the province of British Columbia and reached an agreement for all kinds of tough new rules regarding fossil fuel burning of fuels, the carbon-related fuels in those states, to clean up the air and do something about climate change. And each one of them stressed how important it was. John Kitzhaber from Oregon.
Energy and climate are clearly the issues of our time, not just globally, but here along the West Coast. And I don't think any other set of challenges will have a more profound impact on our region over the coming decades.
Jay Inslee from Washington State.
We know very deeply that the right thing to do, the ethical thing to do, and the moral thing to do is to leave this beautiful and bountiful coast to the generations who will follow.
So that entire West Coast is very, very exciting. And a guy that I used to work for, my still a good friend, Governor Jerry Brown.
We have to take action before we see and experience all the problems we're dealing with. So it takes imagination, it takes vision, and it takes courage and collaboration.
Combined, as reported this morning, the combined domestic product of the West Coast states, $2.8 trillion. So they have a lot of clout economically, and the policies that these 3 states together will enact. You see, these 3 states are going to adopt the same policies, the same legislation to protect that West Coast. That's really a big deal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Reading here, California, British Columbia already have placed a price on greenhouse gas emissions through a cap and trade and a carbon tax. They've also already adopted clean fuel standards. Now all those states are going to do the same. And again, this is the cap and trade. This is the carbon tax, which the Congress has just refused to take up. And the states, again, are showing the way. When we come back, I'll tell you what the president's up to today down at the White House.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, here we go. We're ready for an hour number 3. Of course, we're going to lose you on Free Speech TV, but don't worry. You can join us on the video stream. Continue watching on the video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. And 2 great guests in our 3rd hour together. John Stanton, who's the Washington bureau chief for Buzzfeed, a real character. You'll enjoy him. And then Juana Summers, who covers defense issues on the Hill for Politico Pro. 3rd hour coming up for the Bill Press Show.
I wish I was in school.
If only I had a math test today.
Or a book report to give.
I wish I was in school. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll do extra homework. I'll skip recess. I wish I was in school.
I wish I was in school.
I really wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help. Together, we're feeding America.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, hour number 3 coming up with John Stanton here as a friend of Bill from Buzzfeed, and we'll be joined by Juana Summers, covers defense issues for Politico on the Hill, and she's been up to speed on the whole flap over the NSA. President Obama, a busy day today. He and the vice president got the daily briefing at 10:15 this morning. A big meeting on cybersecurity at the White House with business leaders will be held in the Situation Room just before noon today. Then the president, and the vice president have their weekly lunch. This afternoon, President Obama comes up here to this end of Pennsylvania Avenue, up to the Hill, to deliver remarks at a memorial service for former Speaker Tom Foley, died recently. And then late this afternoon, the president and the vice president meet with Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Our White House briefing with Jay Carney today at 12:30.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 points. That's the lead Terry McAuliffe, the Macker, has in the governor's race in Virginia. Trouble for Ken Cuccinelli and trouble for the Republican Party in what used to be a red state. No longer. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Tuesday, October 29. This is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We got it covered this end of Pennsylvania Avenue. We're just down the street from the United States Capitol building, and we got the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue covered as well. President Obama, I'll be down at the briefing again today at 12:30, and we'll take a look at what's happening around the country, around the world, bring you the news of the day, and give you a chance to comment, of course. And you can do so by phone at 866-55-PRESS. On Twitter, send us your comments at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. And here in studio with us this hour as a friend of Bill for the entire hour, a good friend, the Washington Bureau Chief for that great new, not new, so new, but great website, Buzzfeed, John Stanton. Hey, John, good to see you.
It's good to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you back with
nice
our
to be
team
back,
here.
yeah.
Peter Ogburn.
Hey.
Dan Henning's gone. He flew the
We got rid of him, did he?
went off to, he thinks, a better job. I
That's
predict
crazy talk.
In 2 days, he'll be banging on the door saying, I didn't know how good it was.
It was funny. While he was here, he was practicing up for his new job, so he'd be in the back office going, thank you for coming to Walmart. Thank you for coming to Walmart. Thank you for coming to Walmart.
Wow.
Walmart creator, right. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered. Alicia, thank you. And Cyprian Bolding keeping us looking good on the video stream, because we're not only a radio show on your local Progressive Talk radio station, but you can not only listen, I should say, but you can also watch the video stream if you prefer at TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. That's how everybody spells Talker. It's youtube.com/TawkrTV. So, John, you weren't there when Ike Skelton, I guess, was in the Congress.
Sure I was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just retired.
Yeah. No. He was around for a while when I first came in.
Was it? Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. He's the kind of guy that would not recognize the place right now. I mean, he's only been gone a few years, but it's changed so dramatically, and for him to have passed away, is, I think, emblematic of sort of the change in what's going on the Hill right now, actually.
Vice President Joe Biden was on the Hill yesterday, actually for dinner with some friends, and when he got the news about Ike Skelton's passing, he was a close friend of his as well, and he had this to say to reporters walking out of the Capitol.
He helped me when I was trying to get the nomination. He helped me win re-election. That's a shame, man. He was a classy guy.
It's a shame, man.
That's great.
Very classic Biden.
Yeah, totally, right?
Yeah, it is. You know what we got to play? Just because I want to hear it again. Okay, so the Red Sox came through last night, right? I don't know. You're not a Cardinals fan, are you?
I am not, no.
Okay. So the Red Sox came through, and we were talking about this David Ortiz, who is just a force of nature.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is batting around 775 in the postseason. So he was asked last night after the game. He went 3 for
4 last night.
With an
RBI.
Including that double with the RBI in the first inning. So he was asked last night by reporters, so how do you do it, right? So here's his philosophy about hitting.
You see the ball and hit it, and I try not to put pressure on myself and not try to do too much. The whole talk being why they keep on pitching, and it's not like they throw me the ball in the middle of the play. I'm just trying to stay with my game and try to put a good swing whenever, I see a pitch that I can be capable to hit.
I see the ball, I hit it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's pretty great.
That's great.
Right? That's it. It's as simple as that.
My kids actually just started doing the baseball league, like the fall-winter baseball league. I just give them this one piece of advice.
You see the ball and hit it.
That's it. That's all you need to know, man. I see the ball, I hit it.
I see the ball, I hit it. That's it.
That's all you need.
It's nice. It's also nice that he didn't, say that he says a prayer or something like that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Jesus,
man.
Jesus grabs the bat and aims it for him or something weird like that.
which some of these players would say, right? Yeah,
totally.
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow, right? I see the ball, I hit it.
I see the ball, I hit it.
All right. John Stanton's here for the hour, and Wanda Summers joining us from Politico a little bit later. We'll get right to the news of the day, but first.
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. You just mentioned the Red Sox take the lead in the World Series with their 3-1 win last night. Meanwhile, in Monday Night Football, the Seahawks improved to 7-1 with their last-minute win over the Rams. But the biggest sports story,
almost didn't win
they
that
nearly
game.
gave it up, but they won. They won. The biggest sports story, as far as I'm concerned, tonight, NBA basketball is back. It's the Heat, defending champions, versus the Chicago Bulls. Derrick Rose makes his triumphant return.
We still have baseball going on. Now we're in the middle of football season, and now basketball is starting.
And hockey.
And you got hockey going on?
Hockey's going on.
You know.
Hey, if you're a sports
Cricket
fan,
probably is happening someplace.
It's overload.
If you're a sports fan, you got everything you need, right? Where the rubber meets the road. A new study took a look at unintended pregnancies that resulted in abortion in 2008 and found that a disturbing number of women who accidentally got pregnant either weren't using birth control at all or were using it wrong, but they thought they'd be immune to pregnancy anyway. That's right. These women are listing magical thinking as the reason that they're getting pregnant. So it's not a lack of awareness or not having birth control. It's just that some people are too dumb to have sex. So, ladies, if you're listening, you need to tell your man, you better wrap that rascal, because it's not just going to wish a pregnancy away.
No, magical thinking doesn't work?
Yeah, apparently not.
So you can't just keep the condom in a drawer.
Yeah. I do have a condom. I'm just not going to use it. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Or in your wallet.
Right. And a Philadelphia burger making is trying to kill all of us. PYT is the name of a very popular burger restaurant in Philadelphia. They are known for creating big-ass burgers that use wacky ingredients, and Monday, they unveiled their latest monstrosity. It is called the Twinkie Burger.
Oh, God.
It's worse than it sounds. I know that it sounds terrible. It's even worse than it sounds. It is a custom blend pork belly patty, American cheese, and bacon, all sandwiched between two deep-fried Twinkies that serve as buns.
Oh.
There you go, America.
Wow.
The people have spoken.
Would anybody even order that? Doesn't even sound, tempting to me.
I'll eat even the nastiest burger out there, because a burger is a burger. A burger's good.
Yeah,
but I won't eat that.
one.
I don't think I'll eat that.
I don't know. I'd eat it. It's got bacon and pork belly. I mean, it can't be bad.
Or you could just take the Twinkie off, maybe.
Yeah.
Eat the bacon and the pork belly. Why don't you go to Philadelphia, do a little field trip, John? Come back and tell us about it. Right?
Definitely, I'd eat it once.
Buzzfeed Brew. You guys have these great programs. I've been to a couple of them. You had the famous one in New York with Anthony Weiner, and and here with different senators.
We've done Kirsten Gillibrand.
Saw that
Claire
one.
McCaskill, Rob Portman.
Rob Portman. I was there at the 201
Lounge 201
Lounge or whatever last night with two former Obama staffers, speechwriter John Favreau and Tommy Vietor, who was with the NSA. Right. As their communications director. How'd it go?
It went well. I thought it was a pretty good.
Now what are they doing now?
They have a new operation. I think it's called Fenway Strategies, I believe, is the name of their. I mean, they're Boston boys, I guess.
There you
go. And it was interesting. I think people are interested still in sort of the inside workings of the administration and of the Obama campaign.
Did you get any insights about whether they're
a few
what they think about working for Obama? What they like to work for?
Well, I mean, they're clearly fanboys, right?
Yeah,
I mean, of Obama. I was a little surprised. I shouldn't have been. I suppose that Ben asked them about sort of who his favorite journalists are, and they named Ezra Klein and Josh Barrow and someone else, another sort of very progressive kind of a person. And I found that's a little surprising because it's a bit like listening to yourself talk, I would think, for Obama. But, because they all very much believe in a lot of the same things he believes in. But, it was interesting. And I think just sort of getting to see, they talked about the campaign and about how they sort of weren't convinced that he was going to win in 2008 until Iowa was done, and they had sort of taken that. That was the moment that the two of them really felt like he was gonna win. And there was some interesting stuff, so it was a good time.
Vitor was at the National Security Director's office, right?
Yeah, he was he was a spokesman for like national security stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so did Ben ask him last night about the NSA and the spying on Angela Merkel?
He did, and I think Tommy was very good at not answering the question of why do you go spying on world leaders that are your friends, but he said, look, this stuff has obviously been happening well before the administration came in, and he sort of basically said this is how the game is played to a certain degree, which is true.
A lot of anticipation on the Hill this week because Kathleen Sebelius comes up to Congress, to Capitol Hill tomorrow for the first time to testify on the problems with the health exchanges. What's the feeling on the Hill that they're out to get her, to try to force her to resign? Or?
No, I think all the Democrats certainly don't want to see her resign because they don't believe they could get anybody put into that position, so they don't want her to go. And I think for Republicans, she's a pretty good pinata. She's been there since the beginning, so she gets to take all the blame. There's no way for her to deflect on her predecessor or something, and so they want her to be there, I think. And they're going to take their pound of flesh from her, and then probably bring her back in a couple months when the next huge problem occurs with Obamacare, and take another pound of flesh from her. So,
but if anybody can take it, I mean, Kathleen Sebelius was insurance commissioner for the state of Kansas. She was governor. She's one tough woman and one experienced executive too. So I mean, I think she probably,
and she's also, I mean, her demeanor is very much, she does not get ruffled easily. Unlike Eric Holder, who goes up there, and every time he's up there, you can just tell he wants to punch somebody. Granted, I think Eric Holder walks down the street looking like he wants to punch somebody, but that's who he is. He does not take, I think, criticism particularly well. She is very good at sort of letting that kind of thing roll off. She also gets at a lot of this as politics, I think, and so it doesn't get under her skin nearly as much as other people.
The impression I get from some of the Republicans on the Hill, John, is that they're not too upset with the problems with the rollout of the health exchange because they see this as even more argument for them, right? That Obamacare is flawed and we ought to kill it, or they want it to fail. I mean, some of them have said that. We want Obamacare to fail. George Will said it on Fox News Sunday morning.
This is sort of the irony of this, and there's been this huge fight within the Republican circles over what to do about Obamacare, and those that have made this argument lost, obviously. There was a strong number that said, look, the only way we're going to be able to kill this thing and to defeat this law that we don't believe in is to let it go into effect and be terrible. And then when it's terrible, that's when the public will go ahead and say, yes, now is the time when you have to repeal it or fundamentally, soup to nuts, reform it. They lost that fight. And Republicans have since sort of focused on trying to repeal it over and over and over again, or repeal parts of it over and over again.
Yeah.
And that, to a certain degree, has muddied that message, because now it does come off as very much, well, you've been trying to undermine it since day one. Whereas a lot of them thought we should just step out of the way and let this thing fall on its own, because it's going to fall on its own. Once the law was written, it was written in such a sort of a terrible way and designed to keep money down in ways that were not realistic and all these other kind of things. They just never thought that it was going to work. And right now, they're looking very prescient. There's the problem with the rollout of the website. There's people's plans are being taken because they're no longer legal under the law. There are a lot of things that are going on. There's a whole sort of series of other problems that people are now seeing that are getting ready to be teed up at the front end of this thing. And for them, they're saying, sort of, I told you so. We should just let this thing go on its own weight.
The Congress House came back to town last night, out for a long weekend. They're here today, Tuesday. They leave tomorrow night. John Yarmouth from Kentucky told us in the last hour that between now and the end of the year, they have 18 work days scheduled. How can we expect them to get anything done with a schedule like that? I mean,
it's
insane.
I think the schedule is less the issue, frankly, than the fact that they aren't going to get anything done anyway.
Right.
I mean, they could be in every single day and they wouldn't get anything done, and it would just look even worse. I think,
Good point. No,
There is this sort of hope that is not very realistic. I think that Patty Murray and Paul Ryan are going to come up with some kind of a budget deal. Maybe they get a year extension. If they're lucky, they can get something through the House. Again, I'm not sure how you do that without having some kind of Obamacare language in it. So, 19 days, Boehner has already made it clear that he's not going to do immigration before the springtime. So there's not a whole lot on their plate, to be honest.
I mean, there could be, right?
There could be. But
like, for example, immigration reform. They've got enough time to get it done if there were a will to get it done.
If there was the will and if they really thought they could get something done. I don't think there's a realistic chance that they could get something through the House. Even, honestly, even with going on a majority of Democratic votes, I'm not sure right now they could get enough Republican votes to pass something in the House on immigration. In the springtime, maybe they could. I don't personally believe that's going to happen. I think it's going to stay sort of deadlocked like this. But right now, I don't see how they could possibly pull that off.
Well, the question, I guess, is what's it going to take? How can we bring about that change? What is necessary? John Stanton's here with us. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. We'll continue on the other side of the break here on Tuesday morning. John Stanton, Washington Bureau Chief for Buzzfeed. Stay with us.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour now here on the Bill Press Show. This Tuesday morning, October 29, here with John Stanton from Buzzfeed. John, we're talking about Republicans, some of them not too disappointed, I think, to see the problems with the healthcare exchanges because they want Obamacare to fail. I've also found it interesting that President Obama has had more support from Republicans over the NSA spying on Angela Merkel's cell phone than he has had from Democrats. Most Republicans seem to say, yeah, do it. Do more of it.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Well, you know,
what's that all about?
The NSA stuff is, I think, is sort of interesting because it has created these weird sort of blocks. You know, like there was this protest this weekend in Washington where you had libertarians and progressive sort of Occupy Wall Street types coming together to protest against some of the domestic spying. The foreign spying, you've had a lot of Democrats, and it's gotten to the point, I think, for a lot of Democrats, even people like Dianne Feinstein, who has been very supportive of what the administration has been doing. I mean, in part because her fingerprints are all over a lot of this stuff. She helped get through a lot of the domestic spying programs and those kind of things.
She's been very, very defensive and supportive of the NSA all along, right? Until today.
And now she's clearly sort of had enough. And I think, you know, we were having this argument in my office the other day about whether or not we should be at all surprised or shocked or outraged that they're spying on, you know, Angela Merkel and who knows who else. And you know, I think my take on it is I'm not surprised they are. It's sort of what states do. They spy on each other. But at the same time, you know, it is against the rules. And if you get caught, you know, breaking the rules, you can't then say, well, but who cares, right? You know, no, there are rules and there are consequences and you get egg on your face. And, you know, and I think given the number of problems they've had, they're starting to see an erosion a little bit on their Democratic side, which is surprising to me, frankly.
They are, and I think the White House hasn't quite figured out how to handle this yet either. A little clumsy in their response so far. We'll continue our conversation about what's happening with NSA and other issues with Wanda Summers from Politico when we come back with John Stanton
is
from
the
BuzzFeed.
Bill Press Show. is the Bill Press Show.
Wow, you bet it is. 33 minutes after the hour on a Tuesday, October 29, the Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today in part by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the good men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. We all live better because of their good work, and you can find out more about all the good things that they're into at their website, teamster.org, www.teamster.org. John Stanton here from Buzzfeed as a friend of Bill this entire hour. We are joined now by Juana Summers, who covers mainly defense issues for Politico Pro on the Hill. Juana, it's good to have you back this morning.
Thanks for having me back.
Now, John and I have been, we noticed you're wearing black this morning, appropriately so, because we've been celebrating the Red Sox victory last night.
We're going to go here already.
Boy, that was quick. That escalated quickly.
Yeah, how'd those Cardinals do last night?
You know what I keep having to remind everybody who keeps talking to me about this is, were the Nationals in the World Series? I'm sorry. I don't know if I noticed how they played last night.
Yeah, rub it in.
Wow, that's rough.
Just saying, try again next season, boys.
Wait, you're saying the Cards are going to try again next season? You've already given up for this World Series?
No, I will never give up. I will be a true believer no matter how terrible they do. I'm from the land of bad sports. I root for the Kansas City Chiefs, so I am used to having to hold on to hope.
Wow.
Chiefs are good this year.
They're great this year.
And Chiefs team in the NFL.
Thank you to our Phillies fans for giving us Andy Reid. This is perfect for me.
Okay, good. Well, it's been a great World Series so far. It's been good baseball.
Great baseball to watch no matter what side of it you're on.
Yeah. Okay, good sport there.
And we're going to win at Fenway tonight.
Tomorrow
night.
Tomorrow. By the way, you know what's crazy? Okay, Game 6 of the World Series tomorrow in Boston, and Barack Obama's in town in Boston tomorrow.
Traffic's going to be a mess.
Traffic is going to be a mess. It's going to be a real, imagine.
God, I can't even.
Stay out of town, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll get him in. He's speaking at Faneuil Hall. I don't know what time tomorrow, and out before
the game starts.
Let's hope.
I don't know. Let's talk a little bit of NSA. The latest from the White House is that the president didn't know anything about this. Didn't know we were spying on Angela Merkel's. Well, let me just ask you first. Is it a big deal that we were spying on Angela Merkel's cell phone?
You know,
I want to get your take too.
A lot of lawmakers are saying that this is a big deal. That they absolutely don't support it. I personally didn't find the revelation that we were spying on these world leaders that surprising, given the scope of the revelations we've heard recently. What we've heard about how vast the metadata collection is, I didn't find it to be a surprising conclusion. However, that's not been the reaction around Capitol Hill and from many people who are unfamiliar with this arena,
particularly Democrats. It's a big deal.
I think it's a big deal. I think, like I said, I think it's not surprising to me, but it's a big deal. Also, getting caught is a bigger deal, and not being prepared to get caught is the biggest deal. Like, I don't get why there wasn't a plan in place to either keep themselves from getting caught, or once they knew that they were going to, because they knew they were going to get caught on this. Like, they know what Snowden has, so they know that this was going to get out eventually. Like, this is not a thing that was going to get
politically. There needed
overlooked.
to be a better answer for this question when it came up. Certainly.
Now I'll tell you what I find to be a bigger deal, because we've been so at the White House briefings we've been pushing Jay Carney like every day, and Carney's answer has been on Merkel. The president, they had a phone conversation. She was not happy. But the president, they had a good talk, and the president assured her, we are not tapping her phone now, and we will not in the future. Well, were you in the past? And Carney was, no, we will not comment on ongoing intelligence matters. They won't comment on whether or not they were. They won't confirm it. And then yesterday they said, well, the president didn't know about this until this summer.
Oh, this summer.
This summer.
Right.
All right. Now, number one, why didn't he know? Who made the decision? That's, I find, really shocking. And, of course, if he didn't know until this summer, that means we were doing it, right? Yeah. Am I missing something here?
Yeah, I mean, I find the whole notion that he didn't know pretty suspect, frankly. I don't believe that for a second.
I would agree with that. And if you listen to this, the bigger question is how big of a problem is that he didn't know that we were tapping the phone line, supposedly, of one of the world leaders that were very
I'd rather
close
he
to.
knew and lied about it than didn't know. Because if he didn't know, then who's running our intelligence operations?
Well,
when it comes to world leaders, friends.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that, like, at some point, if he knew about anybody that they were tapping, there was a world leader, he would have said, who else are we watching? You know, and you know, honestly, I don't think Barack Obama is not the type of guy to be like, well, maybe we shouldn't do this. He might have been like, should we do everybody else? Can we get everybody else's cell phone numbers? He seems to be very much a supporter of as an expansive intelligence apparatus as possible at this point. So.
And we have to add to this that in June, President Obama went to Berlin, stood alongside of Angela Merkel at the Brandenburg Gate and gave that speech, and we still say that he didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe, too. Right. So how do we get out of this? Are there going to be any changes, or are we just going to move forward with it? What do you think?
So on the House and Senate's legislative agenda are bills that would deal with these collections, these mass surveillance programs. You have NSA Director Keith Alexander, James Clapper on the Hill today, and they're going to get a rare open hearing before the House Intelligence Committee. So they're going to get a lot of really hard questions about these programs, the scope of them, and whether they should be stopped. The intelligence reform bill is scheduled to be rolled out fairly shortly, so I would expect to see a lot more debate about this. That's going to be far more sweeping than our intelligence debates have been over the last couple of legislative
It's unusual, isn't it, John, for them to appear in an open hearing?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, and I think...
House Intelligence Committee this is, huh?
This is.
Mike Rogers, chair, right?
These two guys in particular, if I was the administration, I would not want them out in public at all because they have... an ability to say really dumb things. I mean, Keith, with this whole thing the other day saying that the press should be put in jail for printing documents because that's selling state secrets. That's the kind of thing that is not going to endear you to the press.
Alexander said that the other day.
Yeah. He said that in an interview with was it the Air Force Radio or something network? And I think Clapper has not done himself any favors by lying on to the Senate repeatedly in public. Granted, they sort of forced him to do it because Wyden is very good at that. But and I think it is rare to have them out in front. This is I mean certainly since the beginnings of the Patriot Act debate, really, that the first time we've seen it since then, because every other time after that, there's been a very hard clampdown on any efforts to really open up any of these things to public scrutiny. So,
well, it started. All of this is as a result of the Edward Snowden dump of documents, right? I mean, everything we've been talking about,
yes.
Right? Whether it was listening or collecting the mega data of our phone calls or our emails or our address book, and then what was spying on Brazil and France and Germany, and now it's gotten even to the world leader himself. Have we found anything at all that Snowden released that hasn't been proven true?
No.
Right? I mean, which is pretty scary in a sense. I mean,
I think his information, I don't think... People have tried to taint it by tainting him because he is this sort of bizarre character and he's definitely got some kind of ego issues and he's a little weird. But there has been this conflation of that with what he put out there, and somehow what he put out there is tainted as a result and not as good. And, he was careful with it. He could have just dumped all the stuff a la WikiLeaks, and he decided not to. And, for all of Glenn Greenwald's faults and sort of prickliness, he's not an irresponsible journalist. He's not just printing the stuff. And the folks at the Washington Post are not just printing the stuff. He gave it to them to make these decisions because I think he understood that he wasn't in a position to make the right decisions. So on that, you have to give the guy some amount of credit that at least he didn't just sort of print this stuff wholesale.
But so Jay Carney was asked about this yesterday. I forget who asked at the briefing, and Carney says our position about him still is the same. We think he ought to be brought back here and tried as a criminal, not as a whistleblower.
I don't find the fact that their statement hasn't changed, their position on him hasn't changed, unsurprising. That said, it's unquestionable, in my opinion at least, that Edward Snowden has really changed the scope of our debate over the collection of surveillance, over the way that we deal with our allies. And we, in the tech and the intelligence community, we talk about these issues all the time. There's always this debate over FISA changes and whatnot, but never before have they gotten this amount of public attention. It's usually the small insular group that's talking about these issues. And now with these revelations, it is becoming a national debate.
Can we really expect any change? What makes me skeptical about that is I don't see the American people really upset about this. I think most people accepted the phone collection information as, it's just something we got to do.
I think it'll be really interesting to see how this reverberates through if there are potentially sanctions, issues with EU trade. I think then you'll start to see perhaps a little bit more of a change when there's an actual ramification. Sure, there are people, a small group of very interested people who are upset by these revelations who want to talk about them. But I think when it starts trickling down into like the everyday ethos of American society, when it's impacting big, real tangible things, then perhaps we'll start to see some changes.
You know, somebody mentioned this yesterday, John, on the show, that Europeans seem more concerned about their right of privacy than Americans do.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think Americans really, we do have this sort of idea that we are being spied on. I think most Americans operate under the assumption that all the information they put out there is available to the government. And I mean, and that creates this sort of idea. And also, Americans have become much more comfortable since 9/11 with the idea that abridging your freedoms is sort of a thing that is okay, which is surprising because, you know, you would think that in this country that we would be very much against that. But in a lot of ways that, you know, people feel like it's okay. So,
yeah, I find it so counter to what, you know, like, for example, just take the Tea Party, right? Against big government. It's all the rhetoric against big government. And yet when big government is collecting information on your telephone calls, people sort of say, well, even the same people will say, well, you know, that's what we have to do to keep ourselves safe.
Bill, you have to look back to the NSA debate, though, during the debate over the defense authorization bill in June. This debate over privacy, how far do you go, the tension between privacy and national security, isn't just that traditional split we're used to seeing. You've got the Justin Amash's of the world pairing with people like Tulsi Gabbard, things like that, if you remember the floor debate on that bill. So there are certainly some strange coalitions that emerged. I would expect to see the Senate is supposed to take up the defense authorization bill. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said around Thanksgiving. So I would expect to see this debate really flare up again then as an amendment to that bill.
And we saw some of those same coalitions, strange coalitions, around the issue of drones, right, led by Rand Paul. Drones hearing coming up this week. Let's talk about them when we come back with Juana Summers from Politico Pro and John Stanton from Buzzfeed. Remember, we always save a seat at the table here for you. We'll squeeze you in somehow. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show. radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's 11 minutes now before the top of the hour on a Tuesday, October 29. In studio with us as a friend of Bill this hour, John Stanton from Buzzfeed, Washington Bureau Chief, and Juana Summers, defense reporter for Politico Pro on the Hill, both of them roaming the Hill, trying to snare members and get embarrassing comments out of them all day long. We mentioned drones just before the break. A very unusual event, not so much a hearing today, Juan, on the issue of drones. Tell us about it.
So Representative Alan Grayson is bringing victims
Democrat
of
from Florida.
Democrat from Florida, bringing victims of drone strikes to Capitol Hill for a hearing. These victims, one of them was mentioned in the reports jointly put out by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch last week that suggested that the Obama administration was violating international law and that there had been many unintended civilian deaths with regards to these drone strikes focused on Pakistan and Yemen. So given the current debate going on over targeted killing operations, should be a very emotional and interesting display on the Hill this morning.
So it's not a hearing. So now, who paid these people to come over here?
You know, that is a great question, and one I plan on asking the congressman when I head over there myself. But they're coming along with a filmmaker who has made a film about these targeted military strikes. I believe it's Robert Greenwald. So they're connected with them. So it'll be really interesting to see what the administration says. Yesterday at the State Department briefing, spokeswoman Jen Psaki was asked whether or not these victims would also be meeting with administration officials, and she didn't have an answer on that. So I'll be interested to hear if the administration is speaking with them about this, as they are still undergoing the review of those two reports that came out last week about these operations.
Is this likely to be, John, a story that has legs? The drones?
The drones, sure. I think drones will continue to be. Grayson, for better or for worse, whether you like him or not, he sort of casts a bit of a pall on these kind of things. And I think your question about how these folks got over is a good question. If they came on their own dime, or if it's
unlikely,
yes,
so very unlikely. That'd be one thing. But if the groups that maybe funded them are outside of the mainstream, that can be used against them. Americans definitely, I think, are more than comfortable with the notion of using drones to hit people in Pakistan and in Afghanistan and pretty much anywhere outside the United States. That said, there is this continuing debate over it, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I think that, there are real concerns.
And Rand Paul's filibuster, or whatever you want to call it, no, Jones, I thought was quite effective in raising the issues about there should be some policies and some guidelines as to who decides, and when they're used and where they're used.
Well, the administration definitely finds itself in a bit of a damned if they do, damned if they don't position, right? They've scaled back now some of their use of drones, and that means they're having to put boots on the ground, and then they catch hell for that. And the next time that they have another Black Hawk Down situation, then everyone is going to scream, "Why aren't you using these drones?" And there is this line, I think, that does shift on them constantly to walk. So they are in a bad spot on this.
I found it interesting last week, Juana, that the Pakistani Prime Minister was here at the White House, and in their communique afterwards, his statement said that he had told the president, we really in Pakistan object to the use of these drones on our soil, and we want them stopped. The next day, the New York Times reported that the United States and Pakistan have been cooperating for years about drone strikes, and that we informed them of what we plan to do, and they say, okay, basically wink, wink, and look the other way. So this is pretty murky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very odd tension. What I found interesting, and I've talked to whenever these folks come to the Hill who are victims or who live in these areas that are impacted by drone strikes, they talk about how these strikes are breeding more terrorists than some of the worst propaganda. And so I think that just focusing on this event today, I think that'll be a very compelling argument, particularly as two of the people who are scheduled to testify are young children who are supposedly injured by an American drone strike. And so I think that adds, and I do agree, the cast of Alan Grayson is certainly on the event. I think that might add a little bit more heft and get it a little bit more attention, perhaps a question at the next White House briefing.
All right. Well, let me know. We can work together here, right?
Hey, I'm not in the briefing room. They don't let me in that place.
No, but I mean, you can feed me some questions here, and then I'll just wave wildly until I get called on. All right. Hey, we're out of time, guys. Thanks so much for coming in today. It's always good to see you, John. Thank you for being here the entire hour, Juana, and thank you.
Thank you.
Go Red Sox. I'll be back with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, you know, Republicans are finally being honest about health care. Rush Limbaugh said it first, and George Will said it Sunday. They want Obamacare to fail. They finally admit it. Now, note, they don't want Obamacare to fail so they can replace it with something else. No, they want Obamacare to fail, period, and they don't talk about replacing it with anything anymore. And remember what that means. No Obamacare means back to no coverage for people with a pre-existing condition, no health care for 40 million Americans, and emergency room care only if your kid happens to get sick. That's what it's all about. That's the agenda of the Republican Party. These Republicans, it's worse than that. They not only want Obamacare to fail, they want President Obama to fail. They want America to fail. That's it for today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with Victoria Jones as a friend of Bill. Have a great, great Tuesday. We'll see you back here again tomorrow morning. Look for you then.
Bill Press Show.